we'll kind of get into that. But let's talk about the last couple weeks. Obviously, went to Standing Rock the week before, and not sure if we talked about the previous week.
We did.
We did, okay.
Right after the game, yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
Downer against Beach.
That's right. The tough loss against Beach Buccaneers, and yeah. So then we head over to Standing Rock and get off the bus, get out on the field, and kind of a different situation. The field wasn't mowed, lines weren't mowed. Lines were about 1 inch thick, and so you knew it was going to be kind of a different situation that night. The referee showed up and just kind of looked around, and but you guys made offensively. You guys really stepped things up offensively against the Warriors.
Yeah, it was a fun game. Obviously, coming off Beach, like you said, we wanted to make a statement and hadn't played in Standing Rock in, I think, close to 15 years.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Even more than that, maybe. So, but yeah, long bus ride, hot day. You're never sure what your kids are going to be off the bus, but they showed up and showed out. They tackled well, and they had Standing Rock has some great athletes. That number 7 at receivers, he's a freak athlete. He's the one that made that one-handed
Kelly,
pick.
I think. Kelly.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then number 13, their fullback. We knew they were going to run hard and air it out. And luckily our guys tackled well and covered and came out on top.
They had, I think, Maui, number 25, he had a big run up the left sideline, too. The thing is, they had some speed. If they got out to the outside, I don't know if they stayed inbounds because we couldn't see the line from where we were at, but looked like he was way outside, and all of a sudden they're going into the end zone. But
yeah, Caden said he's like, if I would have tackled him, I would have got a penalty for tackling him out of bounds. And then he went right back in and scored. So.
Oh, geez, yeah.
It is what it is.
Yep. So a win there. Obviously, you guys were pretty much eliminated from the playoffs, losing to Hettinger County and then losing to Beach. And you do have Grant County this weekend, but even a win there won't get you in. But last night, talk about last night. You kind of think about, all right, are the kids checked out? Are they ready to go 2 more games and give it their all? And I think for the most part, as I said before we went on the air, you guys got up 8-0 within I think it was 52 seconds, and I looked at Cade, and I'm like, this is going to be a 52-50 ball game or 52-0, one of the two, and we didn't score for a while then after that.
Yeah, like you said, scored 52 seconds in. Caden Anderson with a nice run, reversed field, and torched it up, got the 2-point with Chasen running it in. And then after that, we got the quick fumble, went right down to the 1-yard line and got stuffed 3 times in a row. Watching film this morning, it was just, good plays by their linebackers, and we had a missed block here and there from the guard tight end spot, and that's 9-man football.
Well, in that 4th and goal, I think, from our angle, and probably the same camera angle, I mean, it was right over top the center. There was nobody. I'm like, oh, Jason's probably just going to jump over the top. And then didn't call out. He handed it off, and he got stuffed.
Yeah, and we thought he had it on the quarterback sneak right out of the gate, but obviously not. And, yeah, they come back, and we get another fumble and get a quick touchdown, what we thought was, and called back for an illegal blindside block, which, watching film this morning, looked pretty good. But, again, is what it is, and so that's, 12 points off the board right there in the first quarter, like you said. So
yeah, we were thinking it'd be like 20-0, 24-0 to start, and they ended up scoring a touchdown, tying it up 8-8 going into halftime, and at that point, I said it's either going to remain 8-8 or this is when the shootout starts, and because 9-man football, you just never know. You could go 3 quarters without a touchdown, then all of a sudden both teams will score 24 in the last quarter.
Right, you got games like last night where you went to overtime 22-20, and you had games like our Beach game where it's 50-50. It seems like. So it depends on the night and what the kids are feeling, and it's odd how it goes that way. But we knew going into it we had to tackle number 7, that Glass kid.
Yeah, he's smooth. He's pretty smooth.
Yeah, we got there and walking on the field, and he's punting, and I'd look over, I'm like, holy cow, that kid's huge.
Yeah, he's tall kid.
Yeah. And so we knew we had to tackle him, and we knew tackling was going to be an issue going into this year, but they tackled well last night. They flowed well. Our defensive line played really well. Blake Larson, I think I had down for something like 13 tackles or something like that. So he played really, really well. And then linebackers as well. Just an all-around effort from everybody. The D-backs covering guys, and we kind of schemed him wrong, and we made some adjustments in that first quarter after we figured out that 36 was the only tight end that was actually going to catch a football last night. So once we figured that out, we kind of buckled down. But no, they're a good team. I'm happy for Coach Martin up there. They've had some rough years. and we've been there too, where they're just trying to get over that hump, and they play hard. So
well, Travis Olson's still there,
Yep.
and I think he's the offensive coordinator. And like I was saying on the air last night, when he was head coach, it was smash mouth football.
Yep.
I mean, it was you went up to Richardson, you guys were laying around watching college football the next day, rubbing your bruises and
just classic dives, traps, tosses, flood plays, and tight
Yep.
end screens, and it's the same thing again.
Yeah.
And they got kids that can do it, so it's good to see them up. I think they had 8 seniors.
I think so. Yeah.
So
Yep.
yeah, good group of guys, but I think I don't think we beat them for 15 years straight.
Yeah.
And then now we've gotten
Gotten them
ahead
last
of
few
it,
times,
for the last, I think 6 now. So
Yeah.
it's crazy how that goes in streaks.
When you go into overtime, of course, we weren't sure on how overtime went because I don't think we've seen overtime in person for quite some years. We've seen other games in overtime, but ended up being 10-yard line, 4 plays. I thought they were going to switch ends, but they must not do it like college in that they stay on the one end
You would switch ends
in the next overtime.
Yeah,
Okay.
So, but yeah, that's the first one in Nighthawk program
Yeah.
history. I was talking to Coach Tibor after the game. He was up there, and I asked him, I'm like, you and Randy ever have one? He goes, nope.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's been a
I
while.
don't know
I
when
don't-
the last time the Black Devils had one, or the Miners. but
We'd
it's
have to
been a long
dig pretty
time.
deep, yeah. So you guys ended up giving up the touchdown, stopping the 2-point conversion, and then you guys came out and you guys scored on 4th down, right?
4th and 1.
It was 4th and 1, and
Yep.
I'm like, we're trying to, of course, we're up there, we're starting to predict plays going, okay, this time we're going to do play action here. And it was like, dive, okay, all right. This time it was like, well, you do play action here, nobody's open, you're going to mess. So then you went with that handoff to Anderson. And nice little hole, big credit to the offensive line, and got you guys into the end zone. And nice 2-point play called, and I think your 2-pointers started coming into kind of a lot easier last week because you had, once you go like 4 for 5 or 5 for 6 last week.
Yeah, and just work the outside corner like we won it on last night.
Yeah.
And Chasen throws a good ball on that quick out like that, and it's just a easy little rub, quick pick play.
Yeah.
Where he's got the option to throw to Riley underneath or Caden on the outside, and luckily he got him with the perfect ball against that Glass kid, their best player. So it was one of our best versus one of their best, and we came out on top of it.
When you guys had a lot of people involved, obviously scoring-wise, not so much, but we did give Blake Larson the top performer last night. Just kind of noticed he had a lot of, I think he had 2 or 3 tackles for losses. He was being held up by the defensive end, and all of a sudden the runner just came right at him, and he just kind of slipped off and got a big hit. Hayden Defoe was in on a couple of those. Mm-hmm. I know Cam Wheeland, big hitter now for the Nighthawks. He's coming a nice defensive player for you. And that whole defense, I mean, give them credit, giving up, just the 16 points, and they've come a long way, giving up only 20 the week before.
They really have. Coach Cagle called a great game. Most of those tackles for a loss that you said with Hayden and Blake were play calls, outside blitzes, because Richardson runs that mesh where they motion your receiver across, and they can either give it to him on the jet or give it underneath, which makes it really tough on that linebacker on that side, because he's got to either step up and go with the receiver on the jet or step into the hole and take on that Glass kid.
Yeah.
So it makes it really tough on those 3 guys on the outside corner, and they played it all night long very, very well. So it's nice when you have a defense that doesn't give up big plays, and I think their biggest play was probably that tight end pass that went for like 30 or 40 or something like that.
I think so.
So when you can limit big plays like that, and they did a great job limiting us too. I mean, I think our only big one got called back for Hayden's long touchdown run, which, man, watching those blocks, it's like, I can't throw a flag on that.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, and then that big pass from Chasen to Gavin, I think for 36 or something like that. That was the other big one. So it was just 2 teams struggling to make stuff work, and that's kind of cool to see from 9-man every once in a while.
Well, and this year you guys have had to kind of piece together a little bit with injuries. Obviously, with Galbraith out, he had a little different offensive line, a little bit different defensive line. And Kilzer was in there. He had a nice game.
He did.
It seemed like every time you'd see a loss in the backfield, all of a sudden Blake would jump up, and then all of a sudden 66 would pop out of there. So they were running right at him, and he did a good job.
Yep, and Blake was on that power side that we were talking about, where the point of attack, where he sets a great edge, and he also does an awesome job, probably the best we've had since Gavin Daly, of setting an edge and also making plays off the edge and also collapsing in and making a lot of plays from behind. like you said, Micah Kilser getting in there, kind of first reps on defensive line, did a great job. I think he had a sack with Gavin Parnot. They split one, and Gavin had 2 sacks and a couple tackles for loss. Casey Kinsfater had a great game. But like you said, missing Galbraith and missing Christopher Kinsfater, that's 2 starting guards, and all of a sudden you're rotating guys, and 9-man football, you have one guy go down, you usually move around 2 or 3 guys just to fill that spot, which screws up your whole offense and your timing and your confidence, and limits your play calling. But kids do a great job of calling things out. Speaking of that, Blake, on that last touchdown, I think he just moved himself to guard. He's like, okay, guard, you go to tight end. I'm going to take this one. So he made that call and did a great job of getting that in there. So it's cool to see kids take ownership of that and come over to the sideline at halftime. Hey, coach, we think this will work. This is what we're looking at. So to get that buy-in, that's great. Otherwise, just sitting there staring at you waiting, I'd rather have it this way. So it's good to see that.
Definitely. All right, so one more week left. You have homecoming, and that's always a nice distracting week. And obviously not in the playoffs, but you can still give Grant County a run, maybe throw a loss at them and really have them limp it into the playoffs. But, yeah, it kind of sounded like those guys are going to be 1, Hettinger County 2, and 2 very respectable teams going into the playoffs for this region.
Right. They were kind of the preseason pick, I think, amongst coaches to win this thing. They got such big kids, tough, strong kids. They're super aggressive. Offensive line and defensive line, they get a ton of penetration. That number 77 is Weinberger. He's their nose, and he'll probably run through 2 kids every play. He's just a refrigerator with legs. And then they have another freeze. They just never seem to go away. Sophomore at quarterback. He throws a good ball, and they got receivers, 6'2", 6'2", and their senior one, their best one's 5'9", but he's got speed. Everybody's got speed. So they spread you out. They make you break down and make tackles, and they throw it over the top, lob balls, and we're going to have to be on our game. So
yeah, should be a good one next Friday.
Should.
And we'll probably talk to you either Saturday morning or the week after to wrap up the season.
Sure.
One game last night we were kind of watching. We're kind of a surprise. Number 4 Linton squeaked by Kidder County 24-22.
Yeah, so, I don't know if they're resting guys or what, because they have.
Because next week's their big one against. Huge. So I guess if they
Central McLean.
Yeah, even if they would have lost, they still would have been playing for the title next week, anyways.
Yeah, and they're both of those teams are undefeated.
Yeah.
So like you said, they're probably thinking, it doesn't matter if we lose that one. We just got to win next week, and we're in.
Either that or Kidder County's drastically improved. One of the two.
Because I mean, you're coming off New Salem win last week for them, and now a shootout with Linton, and Linton's tough too. So and that other region that's a gauntlet.
Well, yeah. What New Salem end up 3-0 going into that, and did they win the game? They might have beat Kidder County.
I think they beat Napoleon as well.
Napoleon, okay. So, yeah, pretty tough region over there. But, yeah, playoffs are going to take 16 teams out of the 8 regions, and should be a fun look at the regionals. But, once again, we'll be at home next week, 6 o'clock start, Grant County. Their coronation is on Monday, and then they do all the fun stuff throughout the week and then get ready for finally play some football Friday night at 6 o'clock.
Yep, it's, like you said, homecoming and parents' night. And I know they're doing like a NEFLA feed, and they got a ton of vendors down there, and Hall of Fame game as well. So they're inducting some people into the Hall of Fame, I think, too. So it's going to be a full halftime. I'd love for the community to show up and show out. I know our kids love it when we get big crowds, and it's always one of those things. No matter where you go, 5 minutes before kickoff, you look around, you're like, where is everybody?
Yeah.
And by the end of the first quarter, everybody seems to be there. But it'd be great to get a good crowd and show support for these kids, especially these 7 seniors we have who've put in a ton of time and kind of show up and watch us play a very good football team. So regardless of who comes out on top, it's going to be fun to watch because Grant County, man, they are talented.
Yeah,
and
should be a fun one. Yeah,
it's a fun offense to watch. So
should have moved that game to 7 o'clock.
Yeah, that'd be sweet under the lights.
Yeah, under the lights, you bet.
Yep.
All right, well, thanks, Coach, for coming in once again, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, thank you.
All right, there you go, head coach Jason LeFebre of the Hettinger Scranton Nighthawks.